There is a law, as immutable as gravity, that governs the landscape of human potential. The mind, left to its own instincts, will always choose the path of least resistance. It will seek comfort over growth, familiarity over possibility, and immediate relief over lasting reward. This is not a flaw. It is its ancient programming. For millennia, its primary task was survival, to conserve energy, avoid danger, and seek ease. But you do not live in that world anymore. You live in a world of unprecedented possibility, where the greatest dangers are not predators in the wild, but the silent predators within: stagnation, regret, and the slow erosion of your own potential. Your mind whispers excuses disguised as logic. It suggests that tomorrow's effort will be easier than today's. It argues that rest is always wiser than strain, that safety is superior to strength. And if you listen, you will remain exactly where you are, a prisoner of your own untested limits. But you possess a sovereign power, the power to command your attention, to direct your will, and to act in defiance of this ancient programming. This book is not about punishment. It is not about austerity for its own sake. It is about liberation. True freedom is not the ability to do what is easy. It is the cultivated strength to do what is necessary, whether it is easy or not. It is the profound peace that comes from knowing with unshakable certainty that you can rely on yourself. The training begins not with a Herculean feat, but with a single, deliberate choice to finish what you have avoided, to choose the harder right over the easier wrong, to act when every feeling rebels. We do not ask the sculptor's chisel if it feels like cutting the marble. We do not ask the flame if it is inspired to burn. They simply fulfill their nature. Your task is to forge a new nature for your mind, one where action follows intention as surely as dawn follows night. What you will find in these pages is a system for that forging. It is a return to the fundamental principle that character and destiny are built in the small, daily battlegrounds of your will. When you learn to train your mind to do hard things, you are not merely acquiring discipline. You are reclaiming authorship of your life. The path is simple, but it is not easy. It is the only one that leads upward. Turn the page. Your training begins now. You stand at the threshold of a fundamental law, one that governs all meaningful achievement. I call it the first law of momentum. A task avoided does not vanish. It transmutes. It changes from a weight on your to-do list into a weight on your soul. Look, without flinching, at the landscape of your current obligations. There, you will see them, the quiet, persistent shadows. The difficult conversation you have postponed. The project languishing in its infancy. The commitment to your health, silently broken each day. The financial reckoning you turn from. These are not mere tasks. They are the unfinished sentences of your life story. Most believe that avoiding difficulties saves energy. This is the mind's great deception. In truth, avoidance is the most expensive form of debt you can incur. The principle is the undone work, but the compounding interest is paid in the currency of your own self-respect. Each day of delay, you make a silent declaration to yourself. I am not the kind of person who can handle this. And the mind, ever listening, believes you. This is the hidden cost. The cluttered desk can be cleaned in an hour. The cluttered conscience lingers indefinitely. Now, observe the individual who commands respect, starting with their own. You will not find them free of hard tasks. You will find them in a different relationship to them. They have learned a secret. The agony of the task is almost always in the anticipation, not the execution. The moment you move from contemplating the hard thing to confronting it, a shift occurs. The monster under the bed, when dragged into the light, is often just a dusty trunk of manageable size. Your aim in this chapter is not to clear your entire backlog in a fit of manic effort. That is another form of escape. Your aim is to establish a new, non-negotiable principle. You will not allow a single day to end while carrying the weight of a deliberately avoided duty. Here is how you enact this law. 1. The unblinking inventory. Take a sheet of paper. In a column, write down the 5 tasks you have been most artfully avoiding. Do not dress them in euphemisms. Have a clarifying talk with John about the project deadlines. Not sort out work stuff. The specificity is the first act of confrontation. You are shining a light on the shadow. 2. The selection of the keystone. From this list, identify the one item that, if completed, would cause the greatest release of internal pressure. This is your keystone avoidance. It is often the task whose completion makes several others easier or even unnecessary. It is the linchpin. 3. The ritual of execution. You will not get to it. You will schedule it. You will assign it a sacred hour, the first hour of your workday if possible. When that hour arrives, you will not consult your feelings. Feelings are tourists in this country. They have no voting rights. You will begin, not with the goal of perfection, but with the goal of movement. Draft the email. Make the call. Open the document and write the first paragraph. Action is the solvent of anxiety. 4. The anatomy of release. As you complete this task, pay close attention. Observe the precise moment the internal tension breaks. It often happens not at the finish line, but shortly after you cross the starting line. The moment you realize you are in it and it is not destroying you. This feeling, this release, is the data point your mind needs. It is proof, more valuable than any motivational quote, that you are stronger than the avoidance. 5. The daily doctrine. Henceforth, let this be your daily practice. Each evening, identify the one task you are most tempted to postpone until tomorrow. Write it down. This becomes your first and most important engagement for the following day. You are teaching your mind a new language. The phrase, "I'll do it later," is replaced with, "I will settle this now." By doing this, you're not merely checking boxes. You are engaging in the most profound identity engineering. With each finished, avoided task, you're whispering a new truth to your deepest self. I am the kind of person who closes loops. I am the kind of person who sees difficulty and moves toward it. I am reliable. This repeated whisper becomes the foundation of your character. From this foundation, you can build anything. The first law of momentum is this: objects in motion tend to stay in motion. A mind that acts despite hesitation builds velocity. A mind that succumbs to avoidance entrenches inertia. Your first act of training begins with the single hardest thing you are willing to do today. Not tomorrow, today. Do not merely read this. Obey it. Discipline is not a quality you are given. It is a consequence you earn, choice by single choice, at the crossroads of comfort and growth. These crossroads appear not once in a lifetime, but 100 times a day. They are silent and often insignificant in the moment. The decision to rise at the first alarm or to negotiate for 9 more minutes of foggy sleep. The decision to nourish your body with real food or to placate it with a convenient sensation. The decision to devote the next hour to creation or to dissipation. No one is applauding. No one is watching. Yet, in these quiet, uncelebrated moments, your character is being cast in the mold of your choosing. Most people misunderstand discipline. They see it as a cage, a set of restrictive rules. They could not be more mistaken. Discipline is the chassis upon which the engine of freedom is mounted. Without it, power is useless. It spins wildly, goes nowhere, and eventually destroys itself. A mind without discipline is a chassis without a chassis, all noise and heat, ending in a wreck. Every time you choose the easier path, you are not making a harmless compromise. You are conducting a training session with your own will. You are teaching it that discomfort is an enemy to be fled from, that your word to yourself is negotiable, that the path of least resistance is your designated route. The mind learns with terrifying efficiency. Soon it will not even present the harder choice as an option. It will simply steer you toward comfort by default. The person of disciplined will operates differently. They have come to see these crossroads for what they truly are, the gymnasium of the soul. They do not choose the harder path because they enjoy suffering. They choose it because they have learned that on the other side of that momentary resistance lies a greater prize than comfort: self-trust. And with that self-trust comes a power that renders motivation irrelevant. Your mission now is to become a conscious architect at these crossroads. To do so, you must master a three-part practice. 1. Cultivate the pause. Between the stimulus, the alarm ringing, the snack craving, the open browser tab, and your response, there exists a sliver of space. This space is your sovereignty. Most forfeit it instantly, reacting on the old programming of ease. Your task is to widen this space. When the choice appears, pause. Breathe once, consciously. In that breath, ask this deliberate question: which choice here, however slightly, strengthens my will? Which choice weakens it? Do not let the answer be complex. It is almost always starkly clear. 2. Decisively delegate to your past self. The weakest moment to decide is in the moment of temptation. Your present self, besieged by fatigue or craving, is a poor judge. Therefore, you must allow your past self, the clear-minded, resolved version of you who set a standard, to make the decision. You decided last night to wake at 5:30 a.m. That decision is not up for review at 5:29 a.m. You decided on Sunday that you would not eat processed sugar this week. That law is not repealed by the sight of a pastry on Tuesday. Your present self is not a deliberative body. It is the executive branch, charged with carrying out the policies set by your past, wiser self. This removes the draining, soul-sapping energy of negotiation. 3. Record your allegiance. At the day's end, perform a brief audit. In a journal, answer this single question: where today did I choose the harder, right thing over the easier, wrong thing? Do not list your failures. Catalog only your victories. You are not a prosecutor building a case against yourself. You are an archivist, building a ledger of proof for your future self. I worked while tired. I drank water instead of soda. I spoke the truth when silence was easier. Seeing these small acts of allegiance in writing does something profound. It transmutes random acts of will into a pattern of identity. You are no longer someone who sometimes chooses well. You are, by the evidence, a person who chooses integrity. Understand this: the magnitude of the choice is secondary. The consistency of choosing the direction of strength is primary. It is the repetition of the correct micro-choices that forges an unbreakable will, just as the repeated striking of the blacksmith's hammer forges the iron. Do not despise the smallness of the battlefield. It is there that the war for your future is won. When you have trained yourself through 1,000 insignificant victories, to instinctively choose the path that builds strength, you will be ready for the great tests of life. They will not break you, because you have already built the habit of not breaking. The path of comfort is a descent, however gentle. The path of disciplined choice is an ascent. Choose now to ascend. Your mind is a territory. Like any territory, it has its native wildlife, thoughts that graze, emotions that storm like weather, and a particularly cunning creature, the desire to escape. This desire does not announce itself with a shout. It slips in as a whisper, a plausible suggestion, a harmless diversion. Just check the notification. A quick break won't hurt. This is too hard right now. Come back to it when you're sharper. If you do not establish sovereignty over this territory, these whispers become commands. The wandering mind becomes the ruling mind, and you become a refugee within your own skull, fleeing from one distraction to the next, never building a home in the house of meaningful work. The urge to escape is not a moral failing. It is the mind's ancient circuitry interpreting difficulty as threat. Its prime directive is to seek safety and conserve energy. Facing a complex problem, sitting with boredom, or tolerating frustration triggers this old alarm. Danger, withdraw. It offers you a side door, a scroll through social media, a quick errand, a deep dive into something trivial, anything to leave the scene of the perceived threat. Your task is not to eliminate this circuitry. It is to become the commander who overrides it. This is the essence of mental sovereignty, the right to direct your attention and the power to hold it steady against the pull of escape. It is the difference between being a servant to your impulses and being the author of your focus. To claim this sovereignty, you must move from being a passive occupant of your mind to its active governor. This requires a new set of governing practices. 1. Proclamation of purpose. You cannot defend a border you have not defined. Before entering any period of focused work, you must issue a clear, one-sentence proclamation, aloud or in writing. For the next 60 minutes, my purpose is to complete the first draft of the proposal. Or, this hour is for studying Chapter 4. This act is not a wish. It is a declaration of law for your mental territory. It draws a line in the sand of your attention. 2. The recognition and return protocol. The escape urge will come. It is inevitable. Your new protocol has 2 steps. Recognition. The moment you feel the tug away from your purpose, you must name it. Silently say, escape. This single word, devoid of judgment, shines a light on the instinct. It separates you from the urge. You are no longer being pulled. You are observing the pull. Return. Having recognized it, you immediately, without debate, return your gaze to the last concrete point of your work, the sentence you were writing, the problem you were solving. You do not argue with the urge. You do not promise it a break in 5 minutes. You simply return. This is the fundamental rep of mental training. The conscious return of attention. Each time you do this, you weaken the neural pathway of escape and strengthen the pathway of steadfastness. 3. Environmental treaty. Your physical space is an extension of your mental territory. A king does not leave the castle gates open to invaders. You must negotiate a treaty with your environment. This means the phone goes in another room. Browser tabs not essential to your proclamation are closed. Notifications are silenced. You are not relying on willpower in the moment. You are using wisdom beforehand to remove the most seductive escape routes. Create a space where the only path forward is through your work. 4. The sanctuary of discomfort. You must radically reframe your relationship with the feeling that triggers escape, be it boredom, frustration, or mental fatigue. These are not signals to stop. They are the signature sensations of growth. They are the fire that tempers the blade. When they arise, Instead of fleeing, consciously lean in. Say to yourself, "This feeling is the price of strength. I will stay with it." By choosing to inhabit the discomfort, you drain it of its coercive power. It becomes a familiar landscape, not a terrifying one. Sovereignty is won in the accumulated minutes of held focus. It is not the grand single-handed defeat of distraction, but the quiet, relentless victory of returning again and again to the task you have sworn to do. When you master this, a profound change occurs. The mind that once wandered like a restless ghost becomes a gathered force. You will sit down to work, and the work will get done, not because you were miraculously inspired, but because you have trained your mental territory to obey your declared purpose. You are not a passenger in your own mind. You are its rightful sovereign. Claim your throne. You will have days when the fuel of feeling runs dry. You will wake to a hollow where motivation should be. The project that ignited you yesterday will feel like cold ash. Your body will speak the language of lethargy, and your mind will translate it into a compelling argument for retreat. In this moment, you are presented with the central test of your development. Will you wait for the winds of inspiration to fill your sails, or will you pick up the oars and begin to row? This is the watershed that separates a life of intention from a life of impact. To rely on feeling is to build your house upon the weather. It is to be perpetually at the mercy of internal seasons you cannot control. Joy, energy, enthusiasm, these are magnificent gifts when they come, but they are fickle masters. If you grant them authority over your actions, you condemn yourself to a stop-start existence, a series of enthusiastic beginnings that dissolve into regret. The principle you must engrave upon your understanding is this: action is not the child of feeling, it is its father. The causal flow you have been taught is a lie. You do not feel your way into acting, you act your way into feeling. Consider the evidence of your own life. How many times have you dragged yourself to exercise, feeling heavy and unwilling, only to finish feeling light and powerful? How often have you forced yourself to begin a dreaded task and within minutes found a rhythm and focus you believed was inaccessible? The feeling of capability did not precede the action. It was conjured by it. This is the alchemy of discipline. Action transforms the leaden weight of resistance into the golden energy of engagement. Your task is to make yourself a master of this alchemy. To do so, you must adopt a new operating principle for your days. The decision is the deed. The moment you decide a task is important, the action is already overdue. The gap between decision and initiation is the breeding ground for doubt, drama, and decay. Your methodology must be designed to eliminate this gap. 1. The ritual of immediate anchoring. When you know a necessary action is being held hostage by your feelings, you must not negotiate. You must perform a ritual that bridges the cognitive and the physical. If you do not feel like writing, the decision is not to write. It is to open the document and place your fingers on the keys. If you do not feel like running, the decision is not to run. It is to put on your running shoes and step outside your door. You are not committing to the marathon. You are committing to the first physical gesture that makes retreat more awkward than advance. This ritual bypasses the emotional debate and engages the body. The body, once in motion, will often persuade the mind to follow. 2. The 5-minute covenant. Make this sacred, non-negotiable pact with yourself. When resistance is strongest, I grant myself the permission to do the work poorly, slowly, or clumsily, but I will not grant myself permission to avoid it. I will give it 5 minutes of my full, present attention. This covenant achieves two things. First, it makes the task psychologically manageable. Anyone can endure 5 minutes of anything. Second, and more importantly, it almost always tricks the resistance. Once you are 5 minutes in, you have broken the spell of inertia. You have gathered data that the task is not a monster. Very often you will choose to continue. But if after 5 true minutes you stop, you have still kept your covenant. You have honored action over apathy. 3. The decoupling of identity. Your most pernicious thought in these moments is, I don't feel like doing this, therefore I am not someone who can. This is a catastrophic fusion of temporary state with permanent identity. You must learn to decouple them. Practice saying, a feeling of resistance is present. I am the person who acts despite it. See the feeling as a cloud passing through the sky of your awareness, noted but irrelevant to your course. Your identity is not the cloud, it is the sky. It is the consistent, spacious presence that holds all weather without being defined by it. 4. The fuel of finished things. At the end of each day, do not measure yourself by how you felt. Measure yourself by what you finished. Keep a log not of your moods, but of your completions. Wrote 1,000 words. Finished the analysis. Had the difficult conversation. This log becomes your empirical proof, your counter-narrative to the lie that you must feel ready to be effective. Over time, you will build an unshakable confidence rooted not in transient inspiration, but in the granite of demonstrated action. When you live by this principle, you attain a formidable kind of freedom. You are no longer waiting for permission from your own internal climate. You become like the postman, who delivers in rain, shine, or snow. The work gets done because it is your duty, and in the faithful execution of that duty, you find a satisfaction deeper and more enduring than any fleeting feeling could provide. Stop consulting your emotions for a forecast. Pick up the oars. The very act of rowing will create the wind you were waiting for. Stress does not introduce new elements to your character. It reveals the existing ones. It is the fire that burns away the trivial and leaves only the essential structure of who you are. A poorly built mind will crack and falter under heat. A well-trained mind will find its truest form in the flame. You cannot and should not seek a life devoid of pressure. Deadlines, conflicts, uncertainty, and demands are not interruptions to a peaceful life. They are the very conditions under which a meaningful life is forged. The goal, therefore, is not to avoid the crucible, but to become fireproof, to build an unshakable core that remains steady, clear, and capable when everything around you or within you clamors for panic. This steadiness is not stoic indifference. It is active calm. It is the deliberate regulation of your internal systems so that your intelligence, not your fear, directs your response. The untrained mind sees stress as a tidal wave to be fled. The trained mind sees it as a wave to be surfed, using its very energy to propel itself forward. Your nervous system has a default setting: threat detection. A looming deadline, a critical email, a financial pressure, these are interpreted by ancient biology as potential predators. The heart races, breath shallows, thoughts scatter. This is the amygdala hijack, where the primal brain seizes control. Your training is to install a manual override. To forge your unshakable core, you must engage in deliberate daily practice. Not when the crisis hits, but now, in the relative calm, so the pathways are built. 1. The physiology of command. Your mind takes its cues from your body. You cannot think your way into calm from a state of physiological panic. Therefore, you must master the one physiological function you can consciously control: your breath. This is your primary override switch. Practice this daily so it's automatic under stress. Inhale deeply for a count of 4. Hold for 4. Exhale slowly and completely for a count of 6. Do this 3 times. This is not taking a breath. This is the tactical breath. It directly stimulates your parasympathetic nervous system, sending a chemical message to your brain. Stand down. The commander is here. It creates the physiological space for choice to re-enter. 2. The reframe of the witness. When stress arises, your first thought is usually personal and catastrophic. This is going to ruin me. You must train yourself to step back from this internal drama. Practice the witness reframe. See the stressful situation not as a personal attack, but as an impersonal event occurring in the field of your awareness. Say to yourself, a high-pressure situation has arisen. Interesting. Let's see how it is best navigated. This slight detachment, this shift from "this is happening to me" to "this is happening and I am here to manage it," is the difference between drowning in the wave and observing it from the shore. It allows your prefrontal cortex, your center of reasoning and strategy, to come back online. 3. The ritual of containment. Overwhelm is often the product of vagueness. The swirling cloud of everything that must be done is psychologically crippling. You must perform the ritual of containment. Take a blank page. Write the single central stressor as a title. Then draw 3 boxes. Box 1, the next physical action. What is the one concrete next step? Draft the email to X. Call Y and ask for Z. Box 2, what I control. List only the elements you have direct agency over: your preparation, your communication, your effort. Box 3, what I release. List the elements you cannot control: others' reactions, market fluctuations, past mistakes. This ritual moves stress from the nebulous realm of emotion into the structured realm of management. It confines the wildfire to a manageable hearth. 4. The cultivation of exposure. Fireproofing is done in advance, with controlled burns. You must voluntarily seek out mild, manageable stressors to train your response. This is deliberate exposure. If public speaking rattles you, speak up in a small meeting. If uncertainty bothers you, drive a new route without GPS. By choosing to enter low-grade versions of your fears, you teach your nervous system that the sensation of stress is not a harbinger of doom, but a signal of engagement. You raise your threshold so that when a true professional or personal storm arrives, your system recognizes the sensation and knows the drill. Breathe, witness, contain. An unshakable core is not a gift of birth. It is a product of practice. It is the result of repeatedly choosing the disciplined response over the reflexive one, until the disciplined response becomes the reflex. When you have done this work, you will notice a profound change. Pressure will no longer be a threat to your peace. It will become the proving ground for your competence. You will walk into chaotic situations with a quiet pulse and a clear mind. People will sense this stability and be drawn to it. They will call you a leader, a rock, a person who can handle hard things. They will not see the years of training. They will only see the unshakable core. Build it now, so you may rely on it when everything depends on the quality of your calm. There exists a universal moment in every worthy endeavor. The initial momentum has faded. The novelty has worn off. Fatigue, both mental and physical, has set its honest weight upon you. It is here that the whisper arrives. Not a shout, not a command, but a soft, insistent, and deeply reasonable murmur from within. That's enough. You've done well. Stop now. This is the whisper of surrender. It speaks the language of compassion. Wrapping the suggestion to quit in the guise of self-care, it is the most dangerous voice you will ever hear, for it is not your enemy. It is a misguided protector. It seeks to save you from discomfort, from strain, from the ragged edge of your current capacity. And in doing so, it would rob you of the single most transformative experience available to a human being, the discovery of your second wind. The second wind is not a myth. It is a physiological and psychological reality. It is the breakthrough that occurs when you consciously decide to move through the urge to stop, not away from it. It is the moment your body and mind, realizing you will not heed their first plea for relief, tap into a deeper reservoir of energy and resolve. This reservoir is not accessible from the comfort of the couch. It is only found on the far side of the whisper. Your current limits are not your true boundaries. They are merely the furthest point your old habits have explored. The whisper is the guardian of those old borders. To expand your territory, to become stronger, more resilient, more enduring, you must learn to politely, firmly, and consistently disobey it. This is the discipline of the second wind. It is not about reckless exhaustion. It is about intelligent perseverance. It is the skill of distinguishing between true injury, which must be heeded, and the mere protest of a system being asked to grow. To cultivate this skill, you must adopt a new practice at the precise moment the whisper arises. 1. The pact of the +1. When the whisper tells you to stop, you will make a non-negotiable pact. +1. You will do one more set. You will write one more page. You will make one more call. You will hold the pose for 5 more breaths. The 1 must be specific, small, and immediately actionable. This pact does not ask you to double your effort. It asks you to extend your effort minutely, just beyond the point where your instinct begs for respite. This is how you teach your nervous system that the stop signal is a suggestion, not a law. Each +1 is a gentle, firm stretching of your perceived limit. 2. The interrogation of the whisper. Do not accept the whisper at face value. When it says, "You're too tired," pause and interrogate it with calm curiosity. Ask, is this true fatigue or is this resistance? Will stopping now serve my long-term goal or merely my immediate comfort? What would the person I am becoming do in this moment? This brief interrogation creates critical distance. It transforms a compelling emotion into an object you can examine. Very often, you will find the whisper's argument collapses under the mildest scrutiny, revealing itself as fear in the costume of fatigue. 3. The anchor of ritual motion. When the mind wavers, anchor yourself in the physical. If you are mentally exhausted from work and the whisper urges you to quit for the day, institute a ritual motion. Stand up, stretch, walk to get a glass of water. Then, instead of sitting back down into distraction, sit back down into one more small, defined task. The physical movement resets the sensory loop and often provides a literal second wind of blood flow and oxygen. The key is to chain the motion directly back into a micro-commitment, preventing the escape. 4. The cultivation of the completion high. You must become a connoisseur of the feeling that follows pushing past the whisper. This is the completion high. It is the surge of pride, clarity, and power that comes not from finishing something easy, but from finishing something your whole being resisted. Pay exquisite attention to this feeling. Savor it. Write it down. Push through the urge to quit at mile 3 and finished 4. Felt invincible for hours after. This conscious recording does something vital. It rewires your brain's reward system. It begins to associate the act of pushing through with a deeper, more satisfying pleasure than the relief of quitting. You are no longer just fighting discomfort. You are chasing a superior state of being. By practicing this discipline, you accomplish something far greater than any single task. You redefine your relationship with difficulty. You learn that the wall you face is not the end of the road, but a marker indicating where your growth is waiting for you. You stop living at the mercy of your first impulse to retreat. The world is filled with people who stop at the whisper. They are good, talented people who live within a fraction of their possible strength. You are training to join the few who understand. The treasure, the extra strength, the breakthrough idea, the unshakable self-respect lies just beyond the point where you first wanted to stop. Listen for the whisper. Thank it for its concern. Then, take one more step. The most important relationship you will ever manage is not with a spouse, a boss, or a friend. It is the relationship you have with yourself. And like any relationship, its health is determined not by grand, occasional gestures, but by the integrity of the small, daily transactions. Every time you make a promise to yourself and keep it, you deposit a coin in the vault of self-trust. Every time you break it, you make a withdrawal. Most people live their entire lives emotionally bankrupt in this account, perpetually overdrawn, wondering why they cannot muster the confidence to build the life they envision. They make monumental vows. I'll transform my health. I'll write that book. I'll change my career. And then in the unglamorous hours of the morning, they break the tiny, foundational promises that would make those vows possible. They hit snooze. They skip the planned workout. They choose distraction over the first hour of focused work. They are not failing at their goals. They are failing at their agreements. Self-trust is not built in the triumphant finale. It is built in the quiet fidelity of the prologue. It is the compounded interest of kept covenants. Your mind is a meticulous record keeper. It does not forget. When you tell yourself you will wake at 6 o'clock a.m. and you do, it notes, promises kept, 1. When you say you will not check social media until noon and you don't, it notes, promises kept, 2. This internal ledger forms the bedrock of your identity. A long list of kept promises creates the unshakable conviction, I am reliable. A long list of broken ones breeds the silent, corrosive whisper, my word means nothing. To rebuild or to fortify this sacred trust, you must master the architecture of the small promise. 1. The doctrine of the micro-covenant. Abandon the language of grand, vague resolutions. It is the language of self-delusion. Instead, adopt the language of the micro-covenant. This is a promise that is laughably small, objectively easy, and binary in its success condition. It must be so simple that failure is virtually impossible without conscious defiance. Not, I will get in shape. Vague, monumental. But I will put on my running shoes and stand outside for 1 minute every morning this week. Specific, micro, binary. The goal is not the outcome of the action, though that will follow. The goal is the successful execution of the agreement. You are not training for a marathon yet. You are training your mind to expect that your word is law. 2. The ritual of the daily non-negotiables. Each evening, you will define 3 daily non-negotiables for the following day. These are not your entire to-do list. They are 3 sacred covenants, chosen for their contribution to your core integrity. They must be within your complete control and unaffected by external circumstances. Examples: 1. Make my bed upon rising. 2. Complete the first task on my work list before checking email. 3. No screens after 9:30 p.m. At day's end, you review only these three. Their completion is your measure of a successful day. This practice builds a spine of consistency through the chaos of life. 3. The power of the no-exception streak. The human psyche is powerfully motivated by an unbroken chain. Once you establish a micro-covenant, your primary focus becomes maintaining the streak. Did you promise to write 100 words daily? Then on the day you are sick, exhausted, or overwhelmed, you write 100 terrible, meaningless words. You do not break the chain. The content is irrelevant. The keeping of the covenant is everything. This, no exception. Rule short-circuits the mind's talent for rationalization. It teaches a brutal, beautiful lesson. A promise is not a preference. It is not subject to your mood. It is a law you have authored for yourself. 4. The ceremony of acknowledgement. Do not let a kept promise pass unnoticed. When you complete a micro-covenant, especially when you did not feel like it, you must perform a ceremony of acknowledgement. Pause. Place your hand on your heart. Say inwardly, I said I would do this, and I did. My word is sound. This may feel foolish at first. Do it anyway. This somatic ritual etches the victory into your nervous system. It translates a mundane act into a sacred brick in the architecture of your self-trust. When you live by this architecture, a transformation occurs. The voice of self-doubt, can I really do this, is gradually silenced by the accumulated evidence of your own ledger. You no longer need to psych yourself up for big challenges. You simply consult your track record. The answer is already there, written in the ink of 1,000 small fidelities. You begin to move through the world with the quiet authority of a sovereign. Your yes means yes. Your no means no. And most importantly, the promises you make to yourself in the privacy of your own mind are treated with the same gravity as a public vow. This is the foundation upon which every great life is built. Not talent, not luck, not vision alone, but the humble, mighty power of a promise kept. Build your architecture, one micro-covenant at a time. The person you become will thank you. Procrastination is not an action. It's the ghost of an action unborn. It's the space between knowing what to do and doing it. In that space, a phantom future called tomorrow is born, a land of infinite potential where you are always more rested, more inspired, more capable than you are today. This tomorrow is the most pernicious fiction ever written. It's a paradise that never arrives, a destination used to justify an endless journey of delay. The true cost of this fiction is not lost time, though that is grave enough. The deeper cost is the erosion of your agency. Each time you defer an action to this mythical land, you reinforce a subconscious narrative. I am not capable of handling my life now. The antidote is not better planning or more motivation. It's the immediate and utter destruction of that space. It's the principle of instantaneous execution. The most powerful response to any necessary task is to initiate a physical action towards its completion within 3 seconds of its recognition. You must understand, procrastination is not a decision to not do something. It's a failure to decide to do it now. It lives in the passive voice. Your weapon is the active voice, expressed not in thought, but in immediate, trivial motion. To kill procrastination, you must attack it at its moment of conception. The very first second the thought, I'll do it later, floats into your mind. 1. The 3-second rule of embodiment. When a task, whether crucial or trivial, enters your awareness, you have a 3-second window before your mind can dress it in the costume of later. In that window, you must embody the first physical gesture of the task. Thought, I need to reply to that email. Action, hand moves mouse, cursor clicks inbox. Thought, I should start that report. Action, fingers open the document, type the heading. Thought, the dishes need washing. Action, body stands, walks to kitchen, turns on faucet. You are not committing to finishing the task. You are committing only to breaking its static state. Motion begets motion. The hardest part of any task is transitioning from stillness to movement. This rule bypasses the mental debate entirely. 2. The first 5 baptism. For tasks that feel large or repellent, employ the first 5 baptism. Promise yourself you will engage with the task for only 5 minutes. Set a timer. During those 5 minutes, you may do it poorly, slowly, or resentfully, but you may not do anything else. This baptism does 2 things. First, it makes the entry psychologically trivial. Second, and almost universally, once the 5-minute timer goes off, you will have broken the seal of resistance. You will have entered the state of doing, and continuing is almost always easier than stopping and restarting later. You have tricked procrastination by accepting its premise, this is hard, and disarming it with a ridiculously small counteroffer. 3. The environmental pre-commitment. Procrastination thrives on available escapes. You must engineer your environment to make the right action the easiest action, and the wrong action inconvenient. This is environmental pre-commitment. To write in the morning, the night before, open your document on the screen, place your notebook and pen on the desk, and close all other tabs. To exercise, sleep in your workout clothes, or place them directly on your bedside chair. To avoid distraction, use website blockers or physically give your router password to someone for a set period. You are not using willpower to resist temptation. You are using wisdom to remove the need for it. You are making the path of action the path of least resistance. 4. The reframe of later as never. You must engage in cognitive warfare against the fantasy of tomorrow. Train yourself to hear the thought, I'll do it later, and immediately translate it with cold clarity. I am choosing to increase the psychological weight of this task and decrease the likelihood I will ever do it. See later for what it is, a polite word for never. This reframe injects the necessary urgency into the present moment. It reveals delay not as a harmless pause, but as an active choice for a worse future. When you live by this principle, you achieve a state of dynamic presence. Your life is no longer split between an unsatisfactory now and an idealized later. Your now becomes the continuous field of action where your life is actually built. The ghost of tomorrow is laid to rest, and with it, the guilt, the anxiety, and the clutter of half-lived intentions. Procrastination is the habit of honoring the ghost. Discipline is the habit of honoring the moment. The moment is all you ever truly have. Seize it, not with grand fervor, but with the instant, mundane, decisive motion of your hand. Do not act sometime. Act now. The future you are waiting for is created only by the present you are willing to inhabit. Discipline is not a list of rules. It is not a grim ledger of denials. It is the alchemical fire that transmutes the base metal of your potential into the gold of your character. Each day, you are presented with the raw ore of your time, your energy, and your attention. You can leave it untouched, a lump of unremarkable possibility, Or you can submit it to the fire of deliberate choice and forge something of strength and value. This fire is stoked not in the grand, dramatic moments of crisis, but in the quiet, countless moments of mundane decision. It is fed each time you say yes to the action that builds you and no to the impulse that diminishes you. This constant daily choosing is the forge. Your will is the metal being shaped. Most people believe discipline is what you use to achieve goals. This is backwards. Discipline is the goal. A strong, reliable, tempered will is the ultimate achievement, the master tool with which every other meaningful thing in life is built. Without it, dreams remain phantoms. With it, even modest plans become realities. You must come to see every temptation, every laziness, every whispered excuse, not as a nuisance, but as an invitation to the forge. It is the raw heat necessary for your transformation. To avoid it is to choose to remain unshaked, soft, and susceptible to every wind of circumstance. The process of forging is methodical. It requires heat, hammering, and repeated effort. 1. The heat. Conscious friction. Growth requires friction. Comfort is the absence of friction, and thus the absence of forging. You must therefore deliberately seek out conscious friction each day. This is the heat of the forge. Take the colder shower. Choose the conversation you're avoiding over the mindless scroll. Do the last hard set when your muscles scream to stop. Write the difficult paragraph instead of editing the easy ones again. Do not do this to punish yourself. Do it to prove a point to your deepest self. I can withstand heat. I can tolerate friction. I do not break. This daily heat treatment temper your will's resilience. 2. The hammer, the rule of finished things. The hammer is the force that shapes. In the forge of your will, the hammer is completion. A will is strengthened not by starting things, but by finishing them. Therefore, you must institute the rule of finished things. Each day, you will bring at least one meaningful task to absolute, unequivocal completion. Not worked on, not made progress, but finished. The email is sent. The chapter is drafted. The project phase is signed off. The room is cleaned entirely. This rule trains your mind to associate decision with closure. It builds the neuromuscular pathway of follow-through. Each finished thing is a hammer strike, beating the shapeless intention into the solid form of a result. 3. The quench, the pause of reflection. After heat and hammer, metal is quenched to set its new, stronger structure. For your will, the quench is the daily pause of reflection. This is not a time for self-criticism. It is a time for acknowledgement. At day's end, ask 2 questions. Where today did I apply heat? Where did I choose friction over comfort? What did I finish with the hammer? What did I bring to full closure? Then simply note the answers. This act of witnessing completes the alchemical cycle. It crystallizes the day's effort into a permanent part of your psychological structure. Without this quench, the efforts remain scattered and unintegrated. 4. The pattern welding. Identity over time. The finest blades are not made from a single piece of metal, but from many layers forged together, a process called pattern welding. Your supreme will is forged the same way. Each day's practice, heat, hammer, quench, adds a new layer to your character. Over weeks and months, these layers fuse. You are no longer a person who sometimes exercises discipline. You become, through the accumulated evidence of 1,000 daily yeses, a disciplined person. Your identity is pattern welded into something strong, beautiful, and unique. The need for motivation evaporates. action becomes the natural expression of who you are. When you tend this forge daily, a profound shift occurs. The things others call hard simply become the work. Challenges become the welcomed heat that allows you to reshape yourself anew. You stop seeking an easy life and start cultivating a strong one. You are the smith, the fire, and the metal. Tend the forge, say yes to the heat, swing the hammer. Your will awaits its final, magnificent form. We arrive at the summit. All prior chapters, the laws of momentum, the forging of will, the sovereignty of attention, the primacy of action, have been the ascent. Now you stand at the peak and behold the vista of your own potential. From this vantage point, a final unifying truth becomes clear. You are not the thoughts you think, nor the feelings you feel. You are the actions you consistently take. This is the core of the sovereign self. It is the state where the distance between your values and your behavior has collapsed to zero. Where what you believe you should do and what you actually do are one and the same. This is not perfection. It is integrity, the integration of your entire being around the principle of chosen action. For too long, you may have lived as a parliament of conflicting voices, the dreamer, the critic, the procrastinator, the child seeking comfort. You have put these voices to a vote, and the loudest, most fearful, or most immediate has often won. Sovereignty is the dissolution of this parliament. It is the calm, unwavering rule of the executive, the part of you that sees the long arc of your life and decides, without fanfare, to build it. When action becomes your identity, a profound liberation occurs. You are freed from the exhausting tyranny of how you feel about it. You no longer search for motivation, because your motivation is embedded in who you understand yourself to be. The question shifts from, do I feel like doing this, to the far more powerful, what would the person I am becoming do now? This final integration is the ultimate training. It is the wiring of your highest ideals directly into your nervous system, so they express themselves not as wishes, but as automatic behavior. To solidify this sovereignty, you must enact a final, ongoing practice. 1. The daily declaration of being. Each morning, before the world's demands encroach, you must declare your being. This is not an affirmation of desire, I will be successful, but a statement of current, actionable identity. Speak it aloud. I am a person who finishes what he starts. I am a person who meets discomfort with calm action. I am a person whose word to myself is bond. This declaration is not a hope. It is a command to your subconscious, setting the template for the day's behavior. It frames every subsequent choice not as a random event, but as evidence for or against this truth. You will act throughout the day to make your declaration true. 2. The action as autobiography. Begin to see every single action, no matter how small, as a sentence in the autobiography you are writing in real time. The person who hits snooze writes, I am someone who negotiates with my promises. The person who rises and exercises writes, I am someone who honors my commitments before my comfort. You are the author. The pen is in your hand with every micro decision. Ask yourself constantly, is this the sentence I want to write? Is this the character I am building? This perspective imbues mundane moments with immense significance. You are no longer just doing chores. You are authoring a character of discipline. 3. The ritual of the evening's evidence. At the close of each day, conduct a sovereign's review. Do not ask, how did I feel? Ask, what evidence did I create today for the person I declare myself to be? Scan your day not for emotional highs and lows, but for demonstrations. Evidence. I completed the proposal despite interruptions. Proof of focus. Evidence. I went for the walk even in the rain. Proof of resolve. Evidence. I apologized when I was wrong. Proof of integrity. This review is not for judgment, but for consolidation. You are gathering the data that proves your sovereignty is not an idea, but a reality under construction. This evidence becomes the unassailable foundation of your self-worth. 4. The circle of sovereignty. Command, act, become. This is the self-reinforcing cycle of the sovereign self. Command. You declare your identity. Example, I am a finisher. Act. You execute behaviors aligned with that command. Become. The completed action provides irrefutable evidence, which deepens the identity, making the next command more natural and the next action more automatic. You enter this circle a seeker. You exit it through repetition, a sovereign. This is the end of training and the beginning of mastery. The mind is no longer an adversary to be trained, but a trusted instrument to be directed. Hard things are no longer obstacles to be feared, but the very substance from which you sculpt a life of meaning. You set out to train your mind to do hard things. You finish by realizing the mind was never the point. You were the point. The action was the point. The person forged in the consistent choosing of the difficult right over the easy wrong. That person is the point. That person is now you. Go and build your world. You have the tools. You are the tool. The work is the reward. The sovereignty is your home. The final page of a book is a curious thing. It implies an ending, a mastery achieved, a summit sealed. Close this cover, and the journey could appear complete. Do not be deceived. What you hold is not a conclusion, but a commissioning. The true text of your life begins now, written not in ink, but in the unrecorded moments of choice that await you tomorrow and all the tomorrows after. We began with a simple, stark truth. The mind defaults to ease. We end with a simpler, brighter one. You are not your default. You are the conscious exception. You are the deliberate override. You have been given not a list of rules, but a set of keys to the forge, to the sovereign's chamber, to the quiet room where will is born. The locks they open are the ordinary hours of your life. There will be days you feel you have lost the keys. The whisper will return, sounding more reasonable than ever. The easier path will gleam, smooth and inviting. This is not failure. This is the raw material of your practice. Each return from forgetfulness, each recalibration after a stumble, is a stronger proof of your sovereignty than an unbroken streak of easy wins. The master is not the one who never falls. It is the one whose hand finds the tool faster each time they rise. Do not seek a life free of hard things. That is the search for a smaller life. Seek instead the strength to meet them, and in that meeting, you will find your life enlarged. The difficulty is not the barrier to your dream. It is the very substance from which the dream is forged. Embrace it as the sculptor embraces the resistant marble, knowing it is the resistance that allows form to emerge. Go now. Let your first hard thing be small. Let your fidelity to it be absolute. Stack that fidelity upon another. Build your monument, one proven promise, one finished task, one chosen hardship at a time. The world does not need more people who know what to do. It needs more people who do what they know. Add your name to that number. This is your work. It is and will always be gloriously unfinished. Now, close this book and begin.